The galaxy was wide and filled with countless voices. Every star system had its own quiet story, yet sometimes strange whispers crossed the void. On one calm cycle, deep inside the council hall of the Syrian cluster, a new whisper arrived. It was not weak, nor gentle. It was strong, sharp, and loud, as if it wanted to break silence itself. The signal came from the edge of a dark system, far beyond normal trade routes. It carried a pattern of sounds, not random noise. The sounds repeated in fast beats, mixed with rhythms none of the council had ever recorded before. To the ears of different species, it felt strange. For some, it was harsh. For others, it was too fast, almost wild. Yet one fact stood clear: it was made by thinking minds. The Syrian cluster was home to many races. Tall Avran with feathered arms, small and glowing Callan, strong shell-backed Grun, and others who valued harmony above all else. They met in their shining dome station that floated between stars, where light from the nearest sun painted the walls in gold. That day, every delegate arrived, curious and unsettled. The first to speak was Elder Firan of the Avran. His voice was calm yet heavy with concern. This signal is no storm. It is no echo of nature. Someone has spoken into the stars. Yet their tongue is unknown. It is neither of friend nor foe. It carries force, not peace. Others nodded, their colors shifting as their species often showed feelings through skin or light. The Callan emissary, a being of glowing skin, pulsed faint blue. It feels like beating wings in a storm. Too fast, too strong. Who dares to send such fire into the void? The Grun, slow but steady in speech, rumbled from his place. Strength speaks. Weakness hides. This sender does not hide. That means danger. Debate rose. Some believed the signal might belong to a forgotten empire, long vanished but leaving behind machines that still spoke. Others thought it could be a trap, a lure to bring fleets into an ambush. A few whispered that perhaps it came from one of the old legends, from the Deathworlders. Deathworlders were stories told across the ages. They were said to be creatures born on planets filled with endless danger, where storms never rested, where ground itself tried to claim life, where beasts with claws and venom hunted without fear. Beings that came from such worlds would not be like others. They would not know comfort. They would not know surrender. Yet most council members dismissed the old tales as myths. Still, this signal carried something unsettling. It was not gentle music like Avran songs. It was not measured tones like Callan code. It struck like hammers on metal, as if someone was trying to carve their name across the void. The council leader, High Speaker Tavan, raised his thin hands. Silence fell. We cannot let fear guide us without knowledge. Send scouts. They will track the origin of the signal. We must know who dares to shout into our sky. Scouts were chosen quickly. Small, swift ships left the dome station, slipping into the black sea of stars. Each scout carried eyes sharp enough to read the glow of a far sun, ears able to catch the faintest whispers in the dark. Days stretched into cycles as they traveled closer to the strange system. Meanwhile, tension grew in the council hall. Some races argued to prepare weapons. Others argued to prepare greetings. Records were searched, archives unlocked, every old log compared to the new signal. Yet no match was found. The sound remained unique. The Callan emissary returned often to the thought of the beat, the rhythm inside the signal. It is too alive. Not like machine. It feels like hearts striking against cages. Many hearts at once. What kind of people speak in such a way? When the scouts finally returned, the council gathered in silence once again. A hologram rose in the middle of the chamber. It showed a dark star system, its planets bare, cold, and lifeless. Yet on the edge of the system floated shapes. Ships. Dozens of them. They were unlike anything the council had seen. Alien ships were often built with art, curves, and elegance. They shone with crystal hulls or smooth alloys. But these ships were not smooth. They looked rough, sharp, as if forged not to please the eye but to endure. Their hulls were scarred, their lines brutal, their design heavy. They looked less like carriers of peace and more like weapons made to carry people through endless struggle. Gasps filled the chamber. Elder Firen's wings shivered. No council race would build such machines. They are not made for comfort. They are made to survive every storm. The scouts had also carried more than images. They had recorded sound from the ships. The council chamber filled with strange voices, fast and strong, filled with energy. No one understood the language, yet they felt the weight of it. These were not whispers of fear. These were voices of will. The high speaker stood, his eyes fixed on the burning images of the fleet. We have found something new. A race that speaks with iron and fire. They do not hide. They do not bend. We must learn who they are before the galaxy changes forever. And so, the story of the Deathworlders began to rise from myth to truth. The signal was not a warning. It was a door. Behind it, something waited. The coalition scouts had brought back images of the strange fleet, but pictures alone could not satisfy the council. They wanted more. They wanted to see how these newcomers moved, how they acted, and how they held themselves in the great dark sea of stars. So the scouts were ordered to move closer. Small ships glided silently across the empty distance, careful not to be seen. Their sensors stretched wide, pulling every detail they could from the unknown vessels. The first thing the scouts noticed was the way the ships traveled. Most council races built vessels to flow smoothly, like dancers in the void. But these ships moved like beasts of iron. Their engines roared bright, leaving trails that looked untamed and wild. They did not waste time on elegant flight. They burned forward with purpose, direct and unshaken. The hulls were thick, built of heavy layers. There were marks across them, scars of battles already fought. Some ships had missing plates, yet they still moved without hesitation. Others carried strange shapes along their sides, long barrels, pointed edges, and spines that looked like weapons. The scouts recorded every detail. One Avran pilot whispered into the record. These are not ships of trade. These are ships of war. Still, what unsettled the scouts most was the sound. The strange signal from before was not a single broadcast. It was alive. It was coming from the fleet itself. The voices never stopped. They carried energy, rhythm, and something powerful within them. The humans sang in their own way, but it was no song of peace. It was fierce, filled with motion, almost like a challenge shouted into the void. The scouts carried their recordings back, and once again the council chamber filled with the strange voices. Some delegates covered their ears. Others leaned forward with fascination. The sounds were like nothing they had ever known. Elder Firen spread his wings wide. This is not a dead fleet. This is not a machine without mind. This is alive. They speak as one. The Grun rumbled in agreement. Strong. Not gentle. Not weak. They are people who know struggle. The Callan emissary flickered a deep orange light. They are reckless. Who dares to speak so loudly without fear? For a time, silence followed. The high speaker stood slowly, his thin frame bending with age yet his voice strong. We must not forget. Long ago, there were stories. Stories of people born from death worlds. They were said to be impossible. Yet here we see something that may fit the tale. Some in the chamber laughed nervously. Others shook their heads. Legends, they said. Children's tales. But deep inside, none could deny the feeling the voices carried. A new question rose. Who were they, these strangers with scarred ships and fearless speech? What name did they carry? The answer came faster than expected. For days, the scouts continued watching, and then they caught it. A repeating signal sent into space, as if it was a banner. The strange words struck through the void, again and again. They could not be fully understood, but one word repeated often. The translation machines struggled, but after much work, the meaning became clear. The word was human. The council chamber echoed with the strange name. Each species whispered it in their own tongue. To some it sounded sharp, to others heavy, to others proud. Human. At once, debates began. Who were these humans? Were they to be feared or welcomed? Could they be reasoned with, or would they burn through the stars like storms? The Callan emissary spoke first. Look at them. They scar their ships yet fly without care. They speak with thunder. This is not peace. This is fire. Fire spreads. The Avran elder raised his wings high. Perhaps fire warms as well as burns. We cannot judge too soon. If they are truly Deathworlders, then they are survivors. Survivors can be friends or foes. We must choose carefully. The grunt slammed a heavy fist against the floor. Strength respects strength. We must test them. If they stand, they are worthy. If they fall, then they are only noise. Arguments filled the hall. Some wanted to hide, to lock the stargates and never allow these humans inside. Others wanted to send fleets and drive them back before they grew stronger. Yet another group wanted to welcome them, to learn their ways, and perhaps gain strength from alliance. High Speaker Tavan listened to every voice. His eyes never left the image of the scarred ships floating across the dark. Finally, he spoke. We cannot act blindly. We cannot flee, nor can we attack. We must see them with our own eyes. We must meet them face to face. The council fell silent. The decision was made. Orders spread across the coalition. A neutral station was chosen on the edge of safe space. It was a place where no single race held power, a place often used for trade or first meetings. Messages were prepared in every known language, carrying words of welcome and caution. These messages were sent toward the human fleet. Days passed. The council waited with tension heavy in the air. Would the humans answer? Would they attack? Would they ignore? At last, a signal came back. It was short, only 3 words long, but it carried the same strength and certainty as before. The message was simple. We come to meet. The chamber grew still. Every delegate felt the weight of those words. Whoever these humans were, they had no fear. They were coming. And so, the first glimpse of humanity spread across the stars. Not gentle, not hidden, but strong, scarred, and unyielding. The galaxy had seen their face, and soon it would hear their voice in person. The legend of Deathworlders was no longer a whisper. It was walking closer, step by step. The words "we come to meet" had shaken the entire coalition. They were simple, yet they carried the weight of thunder. The humans had answered, and they were not asking for permission. They were declaring their path. Inside the shining dome of the council station, the great chamber filled once again. Delegates from every race gathered around the wide circle. Above them floated the image of the human fleet, its scarred ships drifting across the dark, a reminder of the mystery now standing at the edge of their galaxy. High Speaker Tavan began the session. His voice was calm but heavy with caution. The strangers have spoken. They call themselves humans. They seek to meet. We must decide if the door will open or close. Speak freely. The first to rise was Elder Firin of the Avran. His feathered arms spread wide, and his voice carried across the chamber. We cannot ignore this. They are not like us. Their ships are not shaped by beauty or peace. They are built to endure storms. Look at the scars. Look at the way they carry themselves. These are not gentle beings. They may be what the old stories warned us of. Deathworlders. A wave of murmurs ran through the chamber. The word hung heavy. The Callan emissary pulsed a sharp red glow across its body. Its voice was fast, almost trembling. Yes. Look at their signal. No grace, no order. It beats like fists against stone. They are reckless. If they step into our worlds, they will not walk softly. They will bring fire with them. We must close the gates. We must keep them away before it is too late. The Grun, large and slow, stood with steady power. His deep voice rumbled across the hall. I do not fear fire. Fire burns, but it also shows strength. They are strong. I see this in their scars, in their voices. They are not weak like the many who hide. If they come, we test them. If they endure, they are worthy to stand with us. If not, then they fall. His words brought more argument. Some nodded in agreement, others shook their heads in fear. The chamber grew restless. Another delegate, a thin Syrian with crystal skin, lifted her hand. Her voice was sharp and clear. You speak of tests and strength, but think. What if their strength grows beyond ours? What if they rise above every test we place before them? What if they do not fall? What then? Silence struck the hall for a moment. It was a question none wished to face. High Speaker Tavan lowered his head. These are not simple visitors. They may change the balance of all things. We must be careful. Voices rose again, clashing like waves. Some called for welcome, some for war, and others for walls to keep the humans far away. The chamber split into factions. One faction, led by the Avran elder, believed in cautious contact. They argued that to turn away the humans would be dangerous, for such beings might not respect walls. It was better to face them openly, learn their nature, and guide their path before it was too late. Another faction, led by the Callan emissary, wanted full denial. They wanted to close the stargates, block trade routes, and shut every door. To them, the humans were storms that must never be allowed to sweep into their skies. The third faction, supported by the Grun, demanded challenge. They believed the humans were worth respect only if they proved themselves. To the Grun, strength was the only true language, and they were eager to see if the humans could speak it. The debate raged for long hours. The chamber echoed with wings beating, lights flashing, claws striking stone, and voices filled with fire. The council had faced many questions in the past, yet none had divided them so sharply. At last, High Speaker Tavan raised his hands for silence. His eyes swept across the circle. Enough. We are no closer to unity. But the humans come, whether we wish it or not. They are not asking for entry. They are walking toward us. The choice is not if they arrive. The choice is how we stand when they do. His words cut through the noise. The delegates listened, uneasy but quiet. Tavan continued. We cannot act blindly. We cannot treat them as myth or monster without truth. I propose we meet them. Not in secret, not in battle, but in open sight. Let them come to the neutral station. There we will see with our own eyes if they are friend, foe, or something greater. The Avran elder nodded slowly. Better to know their face than to fear a shadow. The Grun rumbled with approval. Yes. Let them show their strength. The Callan emissary flashed bright blue, trembling with anger. You are fools. If they step onto our station, it will be too late. You will see their fire too close to stop it. But the tide had shifted. One by one, more delegates voiced support for the High Speaker's plan. Fear still weighed on them, but curiosity was stronger. The galaxy had lived with peace for many cycles, and peace often bred hunger for new stories. The humans were now the greatest story of all. Finally, the vote was called. The council chose to open the door. Messages were sent across the stars to the human fleet, welcoming them to the neutral station. As the session closed, the delegates left in silence, each carrying their own thoughts. Some feared disaster. Others hoped for strength. But all agreed on one truth: the galaxy was about to change. Far away, in the cold dark, the human fleet moved closer. Their voices still filled the void, strong and unshaken. The council had divided, but the decision was made. The meeting was set. And in every mind, the old word echoed once more. Deathworlders. Were they myth, or were they real? The answer was coming. The neutral station hung in the dark like a lone lantern, its wide rings glowing faintly as ships from across the coalition gathered. Every race sent observers, guards, and diplomats. Some came with curiosity, others with fear, and a few with hidden plans. No one wanted to miss what was about to happen. For cycles the galaxy had heard whispers of the humans. Now, the whispers were about to take form. Inside the station, the great hall was prepared. Its walls curved high, lined with banners of every coalition race. Long tables stretched across the floor, with clear space at the center for the new arrivals. Guards stood ready near every entrance, not with weapons raised, but with hands close to their belts. The air was heavy with waiting. High Speaker Tavan entered first, his thin frame carried by long robes of silver. His eyes scanned the chamber. Delegates from Avran, Callan, Grun, and many others filled their seats. Some whispered nervously, others sat silent, and all eyes turned toward the main gate. A voice broke the stillness. It was Elder Firin of the Avran. They come. Their signal grows near. Every delegate turned to the wide viewing window. Outside, engines flared like small suns. The human fleet approached. Their ships were rough and scarred, built with no thought for elegance, but with every thought for survival. Even the most seasoned captains in the chamber felt a chill at the sight. These were not ships meant for comfort. They were built to endure war and space alike. One by one, the ships slowed, holding position near the station. Then a single vessel broke formation and glided toward the docking ring. Its hull was heavy, gray, and marked with strange symbols painted in bold strokes. The station trembled slightly as the vessel locked into place. Inside the hall, silence deepened. The gates hissed open. The first humans stepped forward. They were taller than many expected, their bodies shaped not by luxury but by challenge. Their movements were strong yet calm, every step steady. They wore simple suits marked with their symbols, not decorated like the robes of council delegates, but practical, as if ready for sudden change. The hall filled with sharp breaths. Some delegates leaned back in fear. Others leaned forward in awe. One human stepped ahead of the rest. His face was lined with scars, not of weakness but of history. His eyes held a fire that no delegate could ignore. He did not bow or bend. He stood firm, his gaze sweeping across the gathered races. When he spoke, his voice carried through the chamber without hesitation. We are humans. We come from Earth, a world of storms, beasts, and endless trial. We come not to hide, not to bow, but to stand. The words rolled through the translators into every ear. The sound was simple, yet it struck deep. The Callan emissary pulsed red with unease. They speak with no fear. Not even in the heart of the council. They do not understand respect. Elder Firin tilted his feathered head. Or perhaps they understand it in their own way. Their respect is not bending. It is standing. The Grun rumbled with approval, his heavy shell shaking slightly. Yes. They are strong. Their voice does not shake. The human continued, his tone steady. Our world is not gentle. It tries to kill us with storms, with hunger, with creatures stronger than us. Yet we stand. We learn. We build. We endure. That is who we are. His words painted images in the minds of every delegate. A world where survival was never given, only earned. A world where every breath was a victory. A world that could shape people into beings like these. Some delegates lowered their eyes, unsettled. Others clenched their hands tighter, unwilling to show weakness before the strangers. High Speaker Tavan rose slowly. Humans of Earth. You have entered the Council's hall. You speak of survival and strength. But strength alone does not guide the stars. Why have you come to us? What do you seek? The human turned his gaze to Tavan. His answer was clear and without pause. We seek no chains. We seek no masters. We seek only a place among the stars, as we have earned on our own world. We offer our hands for trade, for alliance, for peace if peace is given. But we do not fear struggle if it comes. The chamber stirred. His words were not threats, yet they were not soft either. They were truth spoken with iron. The Callan emissary's light flickered angrily. They admit it. They will fight if crossed. This is not peace. This is danger. The Grun slammed his fist lightly against the floor, sending a dull echo across the chamber. Good. They do not hide their teeth. I respect this. The Avran elder spread his wings slowly. Perhaps danger is not the right word. Perhaps it is balance. For too long we have known only comfort. Maybe it is time we remember struggle, so we do not grow weak. The chamber broke into voices again, each race giving its own view. Some spoke of fear, some of admiration, some of hope. The humans stood in silence, watching, not bending under the storm of debate. Finally, High Speaker Tavan lifted his hand, calling silence once more. His eyes rested on the humans. Your words are heard. Your strength is seen. The council will decide in time what place you may hold among us. Until then, you are welcome to walk this station under our eyes. The human gave a small nod, not of submission but of acknowledgement. Then we walk as you say. With that, the first meeting ended. The humans turned and left with the same steady steps they had entered with, leaving the chamber heavy with thought. As the great doors closed, Silence filled the hall once again. The delegates knew the truth now. The humans were not whispers or shadows. They were real. They were strong. They were Deathworlders. And the galaxy would never be the same. The first meeting between humans and the coalition had ended, but peace did not settle in the council chamber. If anything, tension grew sharper. The humans had spoken with confidence. They had shown no fear before the many races of the galaxy. To some, this was admirable. To others, it was dangerous. Whispers spread quickly through the station. Some said the humans were true allies waiting to be trusted. Others warned they were storms in disguise. The word Deathworlder returned again and again, no longer a myth but a name spoken with both fear and respect. High Speaker Tavan called the council once more. The delegates gathered in the dome, their voices filled with unease. Elder Firan of the Avran stood first. We have seen their words, but words are only wind. If they are truly from a world of storms, let them prove it. If they are truly strong, let them endure. The Grun rumbled deeply, his heavy frame shaking. Yes. Test them. Only then can we know if they are worthy to stand among us. The Callan emissary flickered bright yellow with alarm. This is folly. If they pass your test, they will only grow stronger. If they fail, their rage may burn against us. Do not invite fire to your home. But the idea had already taken root. The council wanted proof. They needed more than words. They needed to see what kind of beings humans truly were. After long debate, a decision was made. The humans would be invited to a trial on a hostile moon. The place chosen was Cordon 9, a barren world with high gravity, poisonous winds, and creatures that hunted even in the dark. No council race could stay long on its surface without advanced shelters and machines. It was the perfect stage to test survival. When the humans were told, they did not protest. Their leader only nodded and answered with calm words. We accept. The day of the trial arrived. The council gathered in great numbers, watching from orbiting vessels and wide screens inside the neutral station. The humans arrived on a single shuttle. They wore plain suits, built strong but not advanced like the protective shells of other races. Their supplies were simple tools, ropes, blades, and packs filled with food. To many watching, it looked foolish. The shuttle landed on the rocky surface. The doors opened, and the humans stepped out into the harsh air. Winds struck them with poisonous dust, but their suits held firm. Gravity pressed heavier than Earth's, pulling at their bodies, but they adjusted their steps quickly. Observers in the council gasped. Many species struggled in such gravity, yet the humans moved with steady rhythm, adapting within minutes. They set up small shelters using metal poles and cloth. Then they split into groups, each taking different paths to explore. The first challenge came with the creatures of Cordon 9. Large six-legged beasts with sharp jaws prowled the rocks. One group of humans faced them when the beasts charged. Instead of fleeing, the humans stood firm, using fire and sharp tools to drive them back. They moved as a team, each supporting the other, never leaving one behind. The watchers saw this and whispered among themselves. The Grun growled in approval. They do not scatter. They fight together. This is strength. The Callan emissary pulsed an uneasy green. Or it is madness. Who faces beasts without fear of death? Days passed on the moon. The humans hunted smaller creatures for food, gathered water from hidden ice, and built stronger shelters from stone and metal. When storms came with roaring winds, they tied their shelters with ropes and braced against the force. When poisonous dust grew too thick, They sealed their masks and waited with patience. What shocked the council most was not only that the humans survived, but that they seemed to grow stronger as the trial continued. Each challenge made them quicker, sharper, more prepared. They laughed around fires even as storms raged outside. Where others would only fear, the humans found wool. At the end of the trial, a great quake shook the moon. The ground split open, and molten fire spilled from cracks. Many thought the humans would call for rescue. Instead, they worked together to climb the rocks, carrying the injured, refusing to leave anyone behind. At last, their shuttle lifted from the fire-lit surface, carrying them back into the sky. The trial was over. When the humans returned to the station, they walked into the council chamber once more. Dust still clung to their suits, their faces marked with sweat and struggle, but their eyes burned with steady light. Their leader spoke again. "You asked if we endure. Now you have seen." The chamber fell silent. No one could deny it. The humans had faced Cordon 9 and returned alive. Not just alive, but proud. Elder Firan spread his wings wide. "They are true Deathworlders. The legends live." The grunt struck the floor with his fist in approval. "They are strong. They have my respect." The Callan emissaries' light dimmed, fearful and unsettled. "And now you see. Fire grows brighter. They will not stop here." But High Speaker Tavan lifted his hand, silencing the arguments. His gaze rested on the humans. "We asked for proof, and you gave it. Now the council must decide not if you are strong, but what place such strength will take among us." The humans bowed their heads slightly, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. Their trial was done. The next step would be decided not by storms or beasts, but by politics and fear. The galaxy had witnessed something rare. It had seen the Deathworlders thrive where others would fall. And none could forget it. The humans had returned from Cordon 9 alive, stronger and unshaken. Their leader stepped from the shuttle onto the station deck, dust still clinging to their suits, their faces marked with sweat, scars, and determination. The council had watched every move of their trial, and now the results could not be denied. The humans had survived where others would have fallen. The Deathworlders were real. Inside the council chamber, the atmosphere had changed. Delegates from all races whispered among themselves, shifting nervously. Some were awed, some fearful, and some were already planning how to respond to this new force. Elder Firan of the Avran was the first to speak. "We have seen them endure storms, beasts, and the harshest conditions. They do not falter. We must respect them for that." The Grun rumbled, his heavy body vibrating with pride. "Respect, yes. Strength like theirs cannot be ignored. But strength is dangerous. We must treat it wisely." The Callan emissary, flickering a mix of red and yellow, shook its form nervously. "Dangerous is correct. We have not faced a species like this before. They are unpredictable. Their will is fierce. Their actions are bold. Can we control such power? Can we contain it if it grows?" High Speaker Tavan raised his hand. "We cannot ignore them. We cannot pretend they are simple creatures. The humans have shown that they are capable of surviving extremes. That is not weakness. That is power. The question now is how we act in response." The council split once again into factions. Some argued that the humans should be welcomed, encouraged, and offered alliance. Others feared that strength unchecked would threaten the balance of the galaxy. They demanded restrictions, rules, and constant observation. "Fear alone will not protect us," said Elder Firan. If we treat them only as danger, they may see hostility where none is intended. We must learn from them. Their strength can become our ally. The Grun added, strength respects strength. The humans will not bow to intimidation. We must show them honor, or we may find their strength turned against us. But honor may gain their respect in return. The Callan emissaries' lights pulsed sharply. Respect is a fragile thing. They survive where others fall. They are not guided by our logic or traditions. If we do not act carefully, their fire will consume what we hold dear. Arguments filled the chamber. Every race had its own fear and admiration, every voice carrying the weight of caution. Delegates debated endlessly, yet no agreement came easily. The humans had proven themselves capable of anything. They could survive storms, fight creatures, and endure conditions that would break other species. Outside the chamber, the humans moved through the station with calm steps. They did not boast of their trial. They spoke softly, organized supplies, and checked their ships. Observers could see the contrast clearly. The humans were both ordinary and extraordinary. They laughed, they joked, and yet their presence carried an undeniable power. Some delegates could not hide their fear. They are not like us, whispered a young Syrian. They do not rely on machines or shields to survive. They rely on themselves. That makes them unpredictable. That makes them dangerous. Others, however, saw opportunity. Their strength can be our advantage, said a Grun elder. Imagine alliances forged with those who endure storms, who do not bend to fear. Their fire may warm our galaxy instead of burning it. High Speaker Tavan called the council to order. We face a turning point. The humans have revealed their true nature. We have two choices, fear them or respect them. One may bring conflict. The other may bring unity. The decision is not easy, but it is necessary. The chamber grew quiet. Delegates thought deeply. They remembered the humans standing against beasts, building shelters under poisonous winds, and laughing even as Cordon 9 tried to crush them. They remembered their leader speaking calmly before the council, showing no fear, no submission, only strength and certainty. Finally, Elder Firan spoke again. We cannot undo what we have seen. Fear will not erase it. Respect is the path forward. Let us recognize their power and choose wisely how we engage. Let us learn from them, for the galaxy has never known such beings before. The Grun rumbled in agreement. Yes. Respect does not mean weakness. It is caution guided by wisdom. We watch them, yes. We study them, yes. But we honor the fire that burns within them. Only then may we walk beside them safely. The Callan emissary flickered reluctantly. Caution must remain. Their fire grows. Yet, respect may temper it. Perhaps this is the only way. High Speaker Tavan nodded. Then it is decided. Humans are to be observed, engaged, and respected. We do not fear what cannot be controlled, but we honor what proves its power. From this day forward, the Council faces a new truth. The Deathworlders are real, and they are here. Outside the station, the human fleet rested in orbit. They were unaware of every debate, every whispered fear, every calculation made about their strength. They did not need to know. Their power, their endurance, and their will had already spoken louder than words. The galaxy now understood something important. Humans were not ordinary. They were survivors, forged in a world that tested them endlessly. They were Deathworlders, and no species could ignore the presence of those who had walked through storms and emerged unbroken. The first wave of fear had passed, replaced by careful respect. The council knew that the humans would not act without reason, but they would never bow to weakness. The galaxy had met a force unlike any before. And the story of humanity among the stars was only beginning. The council chamber was quieter than it had ever been. Every delegate sat in deep thought, reflecting on the events that had unfolded over many cycles. The humans had arrived, spoken, and proven themselves. They had survived Cordon 9, faced storms and beasts, and returned stronger than before. Their strength could no longer be denied. High Speaker Tavan rose slowly. His thin robes brushed the floor, but his voice carried steady and strong. We have watched, we have debated, and we have learned. The humans are no myth. They are not legends told in stories to frighten children. They are real. They are strong. They are Deathworlders, as our oldest tales once said. A hush fell over the chamber. Every species felt the weight of his words. For countless cycles, the Deathworlders had been thought only as stories. They had been feared, whispered about, and yet never seen. Now, they stood before every race, alive and undeniable. Elder Firin of the Avron spread his wings slowly. Their presence reminds us of what the galaxy has forgotten. Strength, endurance, courage. The humans have faced challenges that would break many, yet they endure. They do not bend to fear. They do not seek dominance without reason. They walk as equals, and perhaps more. The Grun rumbled in agreement, his shell-shaking voice echoing through the hall. They are strong. They fight, they survive, they protect each other. We cannot ignore such strength. We must respect it, or we may find ourselves unprepared for what comes. The Callan emissaries' lights flickered softly. I have seen their fire, their will, and their endurance. They are not reckless in weakness. They are deliberate in action, yet unafraid of challenge. This power cannot be denied. It must be acknowledged. High Speaker Tavan continued. The Council has debated fear and respect, danger and opportunity. We have learned that the humans do not arrive as conquerors. They arrive as survivors. They offer their strength as allies, their courage as example, and their presence as a truth the galaxy must face. We now make our choice. Some delegates shifted nervously. They remembered the fear they had felt when watching the humans step onto Cordon 9. They remembered the confidence in their eyes and the steady way they had built shelters, hunted, and endured storms. The humans had proven themselves capable of more than survival. They had proven themselves capable of shaping the future. Elder Firin spoke again. Let us welcome them not as guests who must bow, but as equals who have earned their place. Let the galaxy learn from their endurance, their courage, and their strength. The humans are no longer strangers. They are part of our history now, and they will shape our future. The Grun rumbled his agreement, striking his fist lightly against the floor. We honor them for what they are. Deathworlders are not to be feared blindly. They are to be understood, respected, and watched carefully. They will bring change, yes. But they may also bring growth. The galaxy can grow stronger with them. The Callan emissaries' glow softened. I still fear what we do not fully understand. Yet I see the truth. They endure. They adapt. They rise where others fall. Perhaps respect is the only path forward. Perhaps it is wiser than fear. High Speaker Tavan nodded, his eyes resting on the images of the human fleet outside the station. Then it is decided. Humans will be acknowledged as part of the galactic community. They will walk among us, not as myths or shadows, but as a people forged by challenges greater than most can imagine. Their legend is no longer a story. It is reality. A message was sent to the human fleet, carried swiftly across the stars. The words were simple but heavy with meaning. The Council welcomes you. Your place among the galaxy is recognized. When the humans received the message, their leader smiled slightly, a mixture of pride and calm determination. Then the journey continues, he said softly to his crew. We walk among the stars, as we were born to do. The council chamber emptied slowly, each delegate carrying their own thoughts. Some were still uneasy, knowing the human strength could rival any challenge in the galaxy. Others felt hope, seeing that cooperation with such beings might bring new opportunities, new alliances, and new understanding. Outside, the human fleet floated in quiet formation, ready for whatever came next. They were no longer whispers or shadows. They were real, strong, and unafraid. Stories of storms, beasts, and endless struggle had forged them. Now the galaxy would see what these Deathworlders could achieve when they moved freely among the stars. In every corner of the council, races spoke in soft tones, sharing their thoughts. Words like strength, endurance, will, and Deathworlder filled the air. The galaxy had met a force unlike any before, and all knew that nothing would ever be the same again. High Speaker Tavan looked out at the stars from the council window. The humans' ships reflected faintly in the glass, gray and scarred, yet moving with purpose. He felt a strange mixture of awe and caution. They are part of us now, he said quietly. And we will learn, survive, and grow with them, or fall without them. Far beyond the station, across countless systems, the message spread. The galaxy whispered of the humans, of the Deathworlders revealed, of storms survived and challenges met. Tales would be told for cycles to come, and no being would forget the day humans stepped into the council and the stars welcomed them in return. The humans had proven themselves. They had endured, they had survived, and they had claimed their place. The galaxy would never doubt them again. The legend of the Deathworlders was no longer a myth. It was real. And it was human. The first chapter of humanity among the stars was complete. Many more would follow, but from this day forward, every corner of the galaxy knew their name.